Put the needle on the record.
For the lead. Oh, yeah! Jalen Brunson from downtown.
So the Grinch tried to come in and steal Christmas, but Saint Bridges came in and said, "No, thou shalt not pass." This is Tim. This is Knicks Unleashed. Oh, I know we said we were going to do bi-weekly videos or videos or podcasts every so often, but this Christmas Day game was just a kind of a small sampling of what this Knicks team is. And you're looking at a team that is 20-10, 10-4 at home right now. They have probably the best starting five in the league, if not maybe second behind Boston. But Boston also dropped that 118-114 game to Philadelphia at home. Boston did. But that, like I said, that's a snapshot in time. But you take a look at the way this Knicks team plays. You take the way that you just look at the way Bridges is playing, man. 17-25, 6 from 9 from 3. Only one free throw. 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and a partridge in a pear tree. 41 points. How many turnovers? Let me give you a small sampling of how many turnovers. 0. You may ask me again, Tim, how many turnovers did the starting 5 have? That would be Bridges, OG Anunoby, Towns, Brunson, and Hart. They had 3 in total. You also have the fact that neither Brunson or Towns had a bucket in that fourth quarter. What does that tell you? Literally, what does that tell you about this team? Their starting 5 is something to behold. This starting 5, you got to kind of go back to the 70s. I'm not going to sit there and tell you there's a starting 5 that's just. I mean, they're better than the Tyson Chandler, Stoudemire, and Carmelo Anthony 50-plus win team. They're better than that. Like I said, they are probably the second best starting unit in the league. Now, you have to be concerned a little bit because of the fact that, like I said, the depth on the bench, you only went 3 deep. My precious came up strong with 10 rebounds and 5 points, 4 offensive rebounds. You got to look at Josh Hart's 5 offensive rebounds yesterday. 2 came at the end of that game. 2. I mean, it was a Christmas miracle. God bless us all, everyone. I did a little editing, a little slicing. Let's just take let me see if I can get it to pull up here right now. That's what she said. Let me see if I can get a small sampling for you of just what Bridges did last night. Hold on.
Dishing to Bridges. His 3 is good, and Mikal Bridges, after a slow start, Hart dishes it out off the deflection. Bridges weaving through traffic and banking it in.
Of course, Tibbs like to keep his guys out there, but when you're number 1 in the league, that shows he really loves you.
Bridges reverses it in off the delivery from Hart.
Now let's jump towards the end of the game here. Let's jump to the end of the game. What Mr. Bridges was doing.
That's hitting 39 for Bridges. 8 to shoot. Bridges veering, fading. 41 for Mikal Bridges.
He was all over the floor. He was everywhere. He was a defensive stopper. He did what he needed to do. He helped facilitate the offense. Like I said, when you have a game when neither Brunson or Towns are probably at their finest, at their best. Brunson came in with 7 for 23 for only 20, but he was a +4. He did have 9 big assists, and again, that 1 turnover. Towns was a pedestrian for him. 9 for 16 for 21 points and 9 rebounds. But again, he also was in a little bit of foul trouble. He did have 5 fouls in this game, so he was in a little bit of foul trouble. But it was Bridges going up against the victor, going up against the Grinch. I laugh because you take a look at the players back in the 90s. And like I said, I'm old. I go back to the 80s. I go back to the late 70s. But you take a look at like Karl Malone, and you just take a look at some of these guys that were just so jacked and ripped, and even Michael Jordan. And then you look at Victor. Victor looks like a beanpole waiting to fall over. But somehow he's got the inside shot, he's got the outside shot, he's got everything that he needs. But the only thing they couldn't equate for was the Bridges. They rallied, of course, like I said, for the Knicks from that 8-point deficit in the fourth quarter. We took it 117-114. Karl Anthony Towns, of course, came out and said, it was a great win for all of us. They did a lot of things that I know they probably felt they could win the game, and we found a way to just grit this one out. Yeah, it does help when one of your guys goes 17 for 25. And like I said, Josh Hart, you cannot overlook what Josh Hart did with those offensive rebounds in the final seconds. You needed them. You needed them to clutch it. You needed them because, like when you got Chris Paul on a team, even though Chris Paul's 497 years old, and you got Victor dropping in 42 and 18 with 4 assists and 4 blocks, you kind of had this feeling that, like I said, the Grinch was going to come down. The Grinch was going to steal this one, but they didn't. And then, like I said, when you have both Towns and Brunson basically spending a good portion on the bench at one point in time, and the game turned around when you had the likes of McBride and my precious in the game with Bridges, it was something special to behold, man. It really was. It had, like I said, it had those good feelings. And I always harken back to the 60 that King dropped that Christmas Day. We're going to talk about that. We talked about it a little bit. We're going to talk about that just a little bit more. You also had Carmelo Anthony in the house with his son. This was a game, though, of bursts. And thank God the Knicks really had the last one. The Knicks went 23 for 9. I should say you gotta look at it this way. It didn't go, but they were 23 and 9, and that was a burst that helped erase the 8-point deficit and moved them into that 6-point lead. And the Spurs took a 7-point lead going into the break. You got a little, like I said, I wish I was there, but I was watching. You got a little concerned, but you were just like, there's just something about this team. We're gonna need to talk about the bench, though. Not this podcast, but we're gonna need to talk about the bench because I still get a little concerned about the bench. I get a little concerned about what's going on with the bench, but I mean it's one of these things. It's one of these things you got to look at. I want to play. There's a soundbite. It's about a minute long from Josh Hart, basically handing out. Basically saying we had the Daniel Jones apologist with Daniel Jones apology forms. He's basically saying, everyone in New York has got to get their, no, not everyone, because I'm going to say it. I kept telling people, just calm down on Bridges. Just calm down. We even did the video the other day, which I thought was hilarious. That then we dropped our first pod a day before this game, and then he puts up 41. But I've said this before. When he came out of college and he was drafted by Philly and then traded to the Suns, it took him a little while, Bridges, to find his way. He really found his way that I think it was 26 games with the Nets where he averaged like 26 points, and he was the first option. And even last year, even though he only had about, I think it was 19 or 20 points average, he was still option number 1. So you go from a year and a half being option A to being potentially the 3rd to 4th option on this team, because this is Towns, this is Brunson, and at times you're looking at OG Anunoby, who's put up 41 already once this season. So he literally could be the 4th, sometimes 5th option with his rotation. But he just needed a time to find his way, and he found his way in December. Let's see what Josh Hart has to say.
We've been saying since really game one that it's stupid to get too wrapped up about Mikal, what he was doing, what he wasn't doing. But you said it with conviction every time. What is it about him that that
that's my brother?
Confident?
That's my brother. I know what he can do. I know his mindset. People got to realize, not one player in this league has a great game for all 82 games. There's peaks and valleys in this league. There's going to be high points, there's going to be low points, and that's why you always try to stay even kill. And he's a guy that did that. He put the work in. When you see someone put the work in, what he's capable of. The character that he has, and we knew that. We knew it was just a matter of time before we kind of found it, and then now we found it, and y'all not saying nothing. So y'all get your damn apology forms out. I'll be collecting them next game. And give him his flowers because he's playing well.
I love Josh Hart. I've always loved Josh Hart. I love Josh Hart going back to the Nova days. He just speaks his mind. He's a 48-minute. That's the thing with Josh Hart. He's a 48-minute guy. And you have to give props to a kid like that. I could say kid because I'm old. But he is a 48-minute guy. He speaks his mind. He backs it up on the court. Even when he's not having a game where he's fluid in the offense, he does the little things on the defensive end. He does the little things on the glass, like we saw with those 2 offensive rebounds. He just does those things that he does the dirty work. And he understands that this is a team effort. And this team, like I said, you go back to the original Nova Knicks, of course. Well, now that we got rid of DiVincenzo, but we brought in Bridges. I would love to see DiVincenzo coming off the bench right now, but that's not going to happen. Let's get away from that pipe dream. But it just, and he said it so succinctly that this game is peaks and valleys. It's ups and downs. And right now the Knicks are on an upswing. We're going to hit a span into the season where we're probably going to lose like 3, 4, 5 games in a row. Knicks fans are going to panic. They're going to harken back to the days of Michael Ray Rich saying, no, the ship be sinking. But this team plays well together. And they have to continue to play well together and build that continuity. And yes, you have to understand, Bridges isn't going to drop 41 every night. It's just not going to happen. Karl Anthony Towns isn't going to go 35 and 15 every night. It's going to have to be a collective group effort because of the fact that that's just the way the NBA is. That's just the way basketball is right now. And right now, in this time and in this league, Tibbs is the right coach for this team. These are the right players for this team. We do have to work on figuring out this bench, but you know what? We're gonna get it done. I'm gonna give Knicks management that wide brush to paint with, so they can figure stuff out. The Knicks have had some memorable moments on Christmas Day. We've talked about this, and again, I went to the. What's funny? I went to the VHS archives because I got a lot of Knicks games that I recorded over the years, and I found some sound from the Bernard King game, and we're going to play that. But there's some games that people forgot. There's some Christmas Day games that people just don't remember. You had the Patrick Ewing game in '85, his rookie season. When we all thought he was going to have Bernard King alongside his running mate, but you know what? They didn't. And they went up on Christmas Day against the Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Celtics, who still had Mikal, Bird, and Parrish. That was a double overtime game. I wasn't there for that game. I wish I was, but I wasn't there for that game. But again, nationally televised games. The Knicks take the victory 113-104. Ewing has 32 points and 11 rebounds. It was one of those moments that you saw a cornerstone of a franchise being born. You really did. And then another game that I was at was the Carmelo Anthony. I don't know why I can't say Carmelo today. The Carmelo Anthony game. Where he basically just had to step up. He came up like 7-up, scoring 17 of his 37 points in the fourth quarter. And again, beating the Boston Celtics 106-104. By the game that because the game that I was at, talked about this before. This was the year before we got Ewing. This was 1984. Bernard King, 60 points, 5 assists. And you guys have to remember this. Now, the Knicks lost this game 121-14, but that 60-point showcase was something special because there was no three-pointers. No three-pointers. 40 in the first half. I talked about it before. We thought he was going to go after Wilt. He didn't, though. And like I said, I was able to come up with some sound bites from that Christmas Day game. Let me see if I can't. I got the VCR and everything hooked up together. So this is only 40-something seconds long, but it's just a moment. Like I said, a moment of time, a blip on the radar. This was, I guess, King had about 19 or 20 50-point games in a very short period of time for the Knicks. But let's just take a listen to these quick 48 seconds.
That's one way to get out of guarding Bernard King, get 3 quick fouls. They let him go right around him that time. That's not the way to guard him either.
Going without it.
Bailey got it to Bernard King. See you later.
And Bernard's got a mismatch with Ramsey. They should clear out, give him the whole court. That's what they do. Here he goes. He scores. Then he goes to the line, and the crowd is on its feet.
The Knicks continually go to Bernard King on the offensive end, and why not? There isn't a net who can stop him.
Bernard's got the mismatch again. They leave him alone. Now Williams is there to help. He gets them in the air.
I love watching the video because you can actually see me in the video. There's a one point you could actually see young Online Big Blue sitting there in the video. But that's just a moment of time. That's just a blip on the radar. It was, like I said, Christmas Day has always been exciting because the NBA has been a staple on Christmas Day for a while now. And with the Netflix contract for the NFL, you have the NFL's now trying to kind of slide into that slot a little bit. And I didn't even watch any of the NFL games on Netflix. I really didn't. I was more enamored with watching the Knicks. Watching I watched the Sixers game. I even watched the Lakers game. But the NBA owns Christmas Day. They do. They really do. That is their showcase. And I know it sucks for the players. That a lot of them, especially the ones that are on the road, they don't get to spend the time with their family. But you know what? It's always just been something special. And I hope that tradition continues. We're gonna try to do shows, at least 2 shows a week, minimum of 1. I'm actually working on getting some, and maybe it's more for me, but I'm working on getting a couple former Knicks from the 80s and the 90s, some of the players that that I grew up with and I got to watch play, to come on the show. We actually have one person looks like they're going to be locked in for the beginning of next year, which is a very short period of time away. So that's good. That's going to be very exciting. And like I said, I also want to just appreciate the people that have listened to the new pod here and are going to starting to follow us a little bit on YouTube. We're going to keep posting everything on the Online Big Blue channel until we decide if we do want to just have our own Nick channel. But the podcast is everywhere as well, so make sure you follow that. Well, I don't wish if I don't get to do another video, which I probably, well, actually, you know what? I was going to wish everyone a Happy New Year's, but I'm going to have another video out before New Year's. But always, this is Tim. This is Knicks Unleashed, and I'm out of here.